Chafing Armor Podcast, Episode 14. 3. It's a magic number. Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast, the only podcast that's brave enough to discuss armor chafing. I'm your host, and possibly inebriated. No, sorry, I can't even lie about that. I don't drink. Your highly caffeinated Dungeon Master, Michael Corley, and with me tonight is Lee. Lee, tell everyone who you are playing.
I'm Lee, and I'm playing Osukai, the Shifter Ranger, with a slight handicap.
And we'll get into that handicap in great detail as we move forward. And next we have Dare. Dare, tell everyone about your character.
I am playing Tix Birchmanson, a gnome cleric who has a sour disposition and annoyance with everybody around him.
A thing that you have been role-playing to a T. And finally, we have Izzy. Izzy, tell everyone about your character.
I'm playing a slightly clueless, definitely impulsive half-orc barbarian, Morezi Mugra.
Fantastic. When we last left our adventurers, the spell scale sorcerer, Penton, had gone off to meditate after his encounter with a dragon. That left us Tix, Osukai, Morezi, and the mysterious wood elf Zuana to have a strange encounter with several goblins who tried to blow up the inn. Exactly what was going on there was not revealed, as they successfully murdered all of them. However, a strange communication from Lolth, the very unpleasant spider god of the Drow, has told them that they must go below. They must find her shrine, or at the very least, Osukai will meet a fate worse than death. When we last left our adventurers, they were about to descend into the pit below the Inn of the Last Dragon, only to find the figure of the ghost Finna to be dragged underneath against her will. So, are y'all going to try to go in down the pit, or are you going to walk down the stairs?
I'm all about the stairs. I like
Stairs are a safe bet.
Osukai's done it before. He'll do it again. He's going the pit.
He leaps into the pit. As I mentioned before, the sides are slightly at an angle, so you can actually kind of do a quick little slide down. And since you do, Zuana follows you more to watch your back than anything. She has her staff at the ready. And what you found before is that with very little effort, the bottom of this pit is clearly magical. After you try to move down, like in digging, you actually begin to descend down. It drags you down under and pulls you into the under pit below, where you had the encounter with the Zorn. Both of you land below, to be followed shortly afterwards by Tix and Morezi. Morezi just squeezing through these little stairs that are not designed for giant half-orcs.
They fit me perfectly. Quit slowing us down there, Razzie.
Hence why Osukai took the pit.
Morezi might as well just intentionally slow down if Tix said that out loud.
Then you certainly do, because he certainly said it. And while Osukai absolutely could have gotten down the stairs, it actually would have been even worse, because while he is also very, very tall, he is actually very, very wide. And I don't mean fat. He is an enormous bear of a man, and that would have been quite a squeeze.
He's 6'11" standing up.
And how tall is Morezi? I forget. 6.5?
6'5", yeah.
Yeah, so Osukai is actually taller fully standing up, but of course he does tend to hunch forward in his natural state.
I have a feeling that Morezi's a little insecure about not being the tallest in the room when there's no other half-orcs.
That is very true. In your entire time with the orcs, you usually were the tallest one there. Orcs are big and beefy, but they don't tend to be super tall. And your mixed blood actually often made you the tallest one in the room.
I don't think Morezi's actually seen Osukai stand up, has she?
I don't think so. I think you're pretty much always hunched over unless you have some reason to do otherwise.
Exactly. So to as much as Morezi knows, she is the tallest of the group.
So you all have an options now. You can head down the corridor that y'all had gone down before, where you encountered the side area of the gelatinous cube, or there are other areas that you can go into. It is really all up to you and what skills you would like to do to try to proceed forward.
Okay, so Osakai is going to confer with Zuana. Since we've been touched, even saying it makes my skin crawl. Since we've been touched by the spider god, I'm going to confer with Zuana about whether or not that connection, as slight as it may be and as dangerous as it still is, if we have a general sense of where her shrine may be and if we should follow that directly.
So this is how that works. If you want to try to draw upon that connection to go forward, you absolutely can. It will lead you towards her shrine, or at least you believe that it will. But it's not.
The consequences will be interesting to say the least.
Yes. Let's put it this way: there is a risk involved, and you are aware the same way that someone who is trying to hold something that may or may not actually burn them. You know that reaching in that connection could have consequences.
So I'm essentially a 9-year-old girl standing in front of a mirror who has said Bloody Mary twice.
I love it. That is an excellent analogy, and it's up to you if you want to lean in and say it the final time.
All right. So what does Zuana think? Since as far as I know, I'm still the only one that knows her true nature, but at this point, I'd like to see what she says, whether or not we should just leave it and not risk tapping into that particular well of pain, or should we go full force and try and get this over and done with as quickly as possible, and maybe she'll let us go. Touch wood, and that's probably never going to happen.
She is terrified. There is nothing that scares her more than what you're describing, and this is not a woman who is given to fear. But she is terrified. But she also knows that it's probably the quickest way to do it. The only thing she says is that perhaps if you do it together, that it may create some kind of buffer.
Okay. Tix, how long does that protection from evil last? Do you know?
Only a few minutes.
Well, you'll only need a few minutes, but do you still have the ability to cast it? And would you cast it?
Yes, I can.
I'm asking, would Tix also cast it if we told him what we were going to do?
Yes, he will. He is all about letting you hang yourselves.
Fair enough. All right, so I will nod to Suwana and I will ask Dare to cast his most powerful protection from evil if he possibly can, and we are going to try and tap in slightly to that little vein together in an attempt to find out where this shrine is. I will ask Morezi to stand behind Tix if possible, just in case there is any blastback. She will not need to get caught in it.
Good thinking.
So in order to do the most powerful protection against evil, all prayers and all spells do have an audio component, unless otherwise stated. But Tix, I want to hear you actually give your blessing and your call of protection from your god onto these two as they're attempting to access outright evil god.
Oh Lord, Garl Glittergold, you are so huge, so very, very, very large. We ask that you give your protection to these two so that we may complete this quest and protect the people above from their own sins and their own shortcomings.
And both of you feel a wash of protection, and it's like you've been under an intense heat and you feel just the temperature just go down slightly. And now, how are you going to access this, Osokai?
I'm going to ask Zuana to start chanting in Drow. I'm going to do my best to follow along as much as possible. We are going to... I'm not entirely sure how this works, but you know what? I'm going to hold her hand, and we're going to chant and try and tap into this power as much as possible.
Okay. You realize in the last second that the key was grabbing her hand. If you had not, it would have been much worse. But by grabbing her hand, it's like a grounding between the two, and that on top of the protection of evil is the main reason that you could potentially have just been killed outright. You sense this, you know this, the same way you know that if you just dodged below an axe swung at your head. Having said that, I would still like you, Osokai, to roll a percentage dice, and I will tell you that lower is better than higher.
Alrighty, here we go. That's a 1.
You are so lucky. So lucky. Obviously, like I said, this would not have resulted in your death regardless. But what happens is the between the grounding of you, between this very sincere prayer from Tix, and you know what a difference that made. It was literally like a shield from a physical blow. You are able to tap into the will of Lolth, the Spider Queen, the dark god of the Underdark, and you are getting given a brief flash. You see a shrine. You see a room that is shaped in the shape of a pentagram. Though the pentagram is the least important part of the room, you sense that in the center of the room are 3 pedestals, each one meant to have an offering to her, each one to have a sacrifice in her honor, and you know that each one has been defiled, and you can taste her fury. Not in 5 centuries has anyone ever dared to actually defile one of her shrines. And this one has been intimately defiled. And you can sense its presence. It is down. It is past the corridors that you came through before. If you recall, there was a large room with machines and gnolls who were affected, who were working there. You know that if you go to the other end of that room, it will take you downwards and will take you towards the shrine. And you realize that you're crying, except that there's blood coming from your eyes. You can still see, but this is literally just the psychic backlash of touching the mind of Lolth. And that one is the reason that the only thing that's happening is ultimately cosmetic. It is horrifying. And you realize how lucky you are that it happened the way that it did.
We're going to break the connection as quickly and cleanly as we possibly can. I'm not sure if there's a chant or anything else that needs to be done, but we're going to try and do that, because the cleaner we break it, the less likely there's going to be blowback once we release the connection. At least that's my thought anyway.
You do so. Also, this whole time, even though he originally cast the spell, Tix has been praying and giving you additional protection from his god. And fortunately, you told Morezi to stand back and keep guard. And that's why Morezi, you actually all are vaguely aware of this, because she's backed up from all of you. And so she's near the door that's leading out into the corridor that goes out further into the under area here. And what you see happen is you see something coming at her. And I rolled for this earlier, by the way. And Morezi, you got a natural 20. And even though she couldn't see the attack, she actually spins around and catches a dagger that was meant for her head. It looks really cool. But you turn around, and this is actually part of Barbarians, is that you cannot be caught by surprise fully. You always have a chance to dodge, even when attacked from behind. And since you rolled
as
really
Jack
well,
Burton says, it's all in the reflexes.
And since you rolled a 20, what I would like you to do, Morezi, is I would like you to roll an attack roll.
I would love that. Like damage roll?
Attack to hit.
20. Okay. 17.
Excellent. So, much as the aforementioned movie that Dara was referencing, she catches the blade and spins it back, and it flings forward and buries into the chest of a gnoll, a rather shifty-looking gnoll with a cloak and one eye patch. and I would like you to roll for damage. Oh,
Yes.
I apologize. I didn't tell you. 1d6.
D6? Oh, okay. Is my always?
No, it does not account with a thrown attack.
Ooh, golly, only a 2.
Well, it's okay. It was a reflex move, so it wasn't like you were able to put a precise blow in. But you do stab this gnoll with the very knife that he meant to bury in the back of your head. And I'm not going to make y'all roll for initiative because neither Osokai or Zuwana are able to act just yet. They are still recovering. But Tix, you can now act if you so desire.
I will scan the room and see if there's any other gnolls, and I will move to go into combat.
You scan the room and you do not see anyone else. There isn't really a place to hide other than just strictly in the shadows. And since you do have low vision, as far as you can tell, there's no one else in the room unless they're using some kind of enchantment.
Okay. I will swing to do non-lethal damage and knock him down so that we can question it.
All right.
And I got a whole 12.
That actually is going to hit because this gnoll is not wearing any armor. He's a sneaky boy, so that is going to hit him.
Excellent. That will be 4 points of damage.
All right.
Non-lethal.
You turn the side of your axe and slam it into his chest, which does not feel great. The wind goes out of him, and he staggers slightly. And Morezi, it is now your turn. You did notice that he was trying to, use non-lethal damage, but what you do is up to you.
Just to be petty, I'd like to say that Morezi takes a quick jab at like the arm or the shoulder of this gnoll with her handy dandy little knife.
Okay, that's your knife as opposed to the one you threw, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, but that is lethal damage if you're stabbing them with a knife. I mean, I guess you can't turn around the pommel if you want to just smack him, with the pommel.
You know what? I'm just going to say that she kicks him.
Okay. Roll to hit.
16.
That will most certainly hit. And a kick, in this case, I'm going to say that the kick will do 1d6 non-lethal.
3.
Plus your damage bonus.
6.
Okay. So all of those, the 2 plus his attack plus your attack, you all knock him to the ground, and he is temporarily stunned and senseless. And y'all can take whatever action you would like at this moment. I don't know, Tix, if you happen to have any, I don't know, maybe rope that's kind of short that you might like to use?
I do happen to have a short piece of rope that I bought off of a huckster that tricked me.
Yes.
So, yes, I will tie up the gnoll and jump on his chest and hold him down.
Osokai notices the rope and chuckles.
I couldn't resist.
This is why I don't like people.
By the way, this is no perception check required whatsoever. This gnoll does not have the weird, slightly decayed one side of their face that you had seen in both the dwarves and the gnolls underneath down here.
And so I am going to question him. What are you doing down here? Where is the shrine that we are seeking? And who was it that defiled it?
He does not want to talk. He doesn't really feel like talking.
Morezi, would you mind if I borrowed a knife to start cutting off some fingers?
Gladly. Morezi gingerly hands him the knife, kind of pats it in his hand as if to indicate, hey, do not do anything stupid with this knife, and watches with great interest the torture.
And so I'm going to start lowering the knife towards his fingers that are tied up.
Yeah, that'll do it. He goes, okay. Look, I'm just taking an opportunity here, just trying to make bag. That's all.
How did you get down here?
Well, I saw a bunch of my, kind of some people from my tribe, and they were kind of whacked out. I don't know what to say. And but I noticed that they weren't really paying attention if I took their, pouch of gold or their weapons. They were just, they were zonked out. It was easy pickings, and they were ignoring me entirely. So I just, was taking it, and I thought Big Greenie here, I thought you were just one of them, and so I thought I could just take you out real easy.
Zorn is a hell of a drug.
Wait, what did you say?
Zorn is a hell of a drug.
Zorn, not even once.
Exactly.
You guys. So he seems to be indicating that he was basically coming down here because he realized that these kind of zombie-ish dwarves and gnolls, he could just basically take anything he wanted from them, and none of them seemed to stop him. None of them seemed to care that he was there.
I will check over the knoll and check his pouches and his possessions and start taking them away while I'm asking him, so what direction do you think we should not go?
He describes that there is an area past a large room where there's a lot of machinery, and there's a door at the end, and it's the only time they reacted to him. When he tried to go through that door, they barred his access, and obviously he had no intention of fighting them, because as soon as he walked away from it, they started ignoring him. By the way, he has 12 gold on him total, and certainly feel free to add that to your total there. I believe, Tix, you have taken on the mantle, which I appreciate.
Yep.
He also has 1 emerald that is worth 10 gold, that he's kind of been picking and choosing the very best stuff. He does have a few choice weapons. None of them, strike you as like they might be magical and stuff, but they at the moment you really can't tell. They just apparently it seems that he's just taken the ones that were the highest quality. That you would suspect that maybe gnolls probably didn't have the highest quality weapons. These probably came from the dwarves.
Sakai Morezi, what do you think we should do with our little thieving friend here?
And Osokai, you have fully recovered, though of course not fully recovered, because that's not going to happen anytime soon. But as far as action,
Osokai holds his head from the mild headache that is starting to rack his brain, and looks at Tix holding a wicked-looking knife, looks at Morezi, looks at the prone, now stripped of pretty much everything he owns, Noel, and I'm going to... Can I sense motive, please?
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm all in favor of sinners being punished to the extreme.
Morezi can respect someone taking a great opportunity to get a little extra gold, but she's pretty peeved about the whole knife throwing.
All right, sense motive overall, that's a 17 plus 1, so that's 18.
As far as you can tell, he is on the level in that he is here entirely opportunistically. If he does have some kind of dark design or something like that, he is hiding it extremely well. He does appear to just be here to get loot.
Osokai shrugs at Tix and says, I don't care. I'd let him go, but I don't care.
Very well. Noel, it is time for you to head back to your tribe. Don't be seen here again.
He looks over at you. He reaches down and he kind of pulls the knife out of his shoulder where it struck him when you hit him, Morezi, and he kind of puts it in his belt. And he looks like he wants to say, like, that witty thing to y'all, but then he realizes he's facing this insurmountable party that could destroy him, and he just turns and runs. He runs back down the hallway.
Good riddance to bad rubbish.
Osokai looks at Tix. I guess that rope is starting to pay for itself.
Yeah, it did. But I wouldn't suggest keeping to bringing it up.
Osokai shrugs. Whatever.
Which way, Osokai?
You do know the way to go.
Alright. I nod to Zuana and we both point in the direction that the flash of insight that we had directs to.
That is not hard. It is at the beginning. It is the same way you went before when you rescued the child that turned out to be the eldest of the drow, Tellin. That was who you actually rescued from the gelatinous cube. So that back down that way and continuing downwards to the open room that you had snuck through earlier, Osokai, is where you eventually lead. When you make your way to that level, what you all see is a giant room with machinery. None of you really know what this is all for. Tix, because you do come from a gnomish background, and a little bit more familiar with machines, you can tell that this is probably something for the processing of metal. Possibly precious metals, but probably more likely steel or something like that, or at least that was its intent. But exactly what these machines are for, you do not know. You also see that there are probably about a half dozen dwarves and gnolls working at these machines, all of them half of their face is partially rotted.
Do any of them notice us as we come in?
None of them are paying you any mind, though it is very loud in here. And right now, it would be very easy for them not to notice you. You have not tried to make yourself known to them.
Ozuko points at the other exit than the one we went down the first time and said, "We have to go through the middle of this room. We might get away with it. We might not. I'm going to go for it anyway."
Tix nods and indicates he'll be right behind Osokai.
Okay. And I would like everyone to roll a perception check.
13.
That's a natural one.
That's a natural 20.
So, Tix, you're basically going, "What? What?" It's very loud in here. That's all you notice. And Morezi, you don't notice anything particularly, but you do notice a couple of things, Osokai. You notice that, first of all, you can see the chute where the garbage is dropped down, and that is literally where the gelatinous cube is. So that is the garbage disposal for this room. It is open, by the way. It is about, say, 7 feet across. And there's no particular safety in this room. You know, it would be bad if you fell in there. As far as you can tell, there are about 7 total of these zombie-like creatures that are just working at the machines. There could be more, like behind the corners and such. As you found yourself earlier, there are many places to hide here.
Okay, I'm going to turn to Tix and ask him if he has any of that noise-making powder stuff. Just because Ozuko is not familiar with gunpowder, but he, even in the midst of his writhing, he heard lots of loud bangs from when they were fighting the goblins, and did catch a glimpse of Tix taking a barrel somewhere. But after that, he just kind of put the 2 and 2 together, but doesn't actually know for sure whether or not Tix has anything. But he's going to ask anyway.
Why, yes, I do. And I like your train of thought.
I'm thinking we throw it down the hole, light it up, throw it down the hole. If the last time we came through here is any indication, they do take note of noises that aren't the normal machine noises, so they may head towards the hole. And if we get lucky, we can probably push at least 4 of them down, if not all of them. But we'll need to see if they actually follow the loud bang first.
So I'll get out one of the bags of black powder, and with a little piece of alcoholed string, I'll light it with a flint, and we'll throw it down the hole.
Fire in the hole. I would simply like you to roll a percentage dice. You do have a very high success rate here. All you want to do is not roll very, very high.
We have a 12.
That is perfect. You do exactly what you want. You strike the tinder, and it lights the edge. You toss it in. You skip back, and there is a hum. And you do actually see a few bits of gelatinous cube just fly out from the hole and kind of splat in a few different places. And you sense you probably don't want to touch that.
Just making a mess.
And sure enough, let me roll my handy die here. 5 of the gnolls and dwarves break off and come to investigate the hole.
While they're moving towards the hole, I will indicate to everybody to move to behind a chosen gnoll or dwarf or whatever is heading towards the hole. I will attempt to take 2 of them down, and everyone else can take 1.
Sounds good. Everybody, I want you all to roll, and if you're doing anything special, then let me know.
I indicate to Morezi to hand me the end of her halberd, and both of us to run and use the halberd to bulldoze them into the hole.
That is delightful, and I will allow you to roll advantage on that, and I will also allow that to count for 2 for both of you.
I rolled a 22.
Well, then you don't have to get advantage because that succeeds. So both of you just, slow motion running at the park like you've got a kite between you, except it's a giant halberd. And you run up, and there's the slightest turn in recognition between a dwarf and a gnoll as they're like, whoa, and then they go down the hole. And Zuana.
What kind
Go ahead.
of hand motion would you have to do to communicate that?
I point at your halberd and show like a swinging motion with both of
Good
us.
point.
And it absolutely happened in slow motion. That is also canon. And Zuana simply comes up behind one with her quarterstaff and just very perfunctorily just whoop, knocks the legs out of under him, and down he goes. And Osokai, it's your turn.
So that leaves 1 left, since there were 5, and they took a total of 4 out so far.
Yes.
All right. So Osukai is going to, after nodding in awe, I guess, at the interesting tactic that Morezi and Tix have had, and giving a wry grin, is just going to walk up and, you know what, it's in his character. He's going to tap one on the shoulder, and when it turns around, he's going to punch it in the face.
Go for it.
That is a 19.
This is a gnoll. It turns around, and you just catch it square in the face, and you actually feel its jaw and nose just break beneath your fist, and it just tumbles backwards. You think it might actually be dead. You're not 100% sure. And all 5 of them just into there. So there are a couple left. Y'all have a choice. You can either just try to kind of hurry to the door and beat them to it, or y'all can try to take them out. It's up to y'all.
Since I'm
a little gratuitous violence.
I'm pretty sure they're half dead already, if not undead. So I'm all for ending their miserable existence.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm not going to roll for initiative. Oh, that's fortunate for y'all. They rolled very poorly. They were trying to do something, but they did not succeed. So I'm going to say, Morezi, it is your turn.
All right. I am going to take my halberd, just do some casual, normal halberd murder stuff. Oh, sorry. Gonna take my halberd, and I'm gonna kill a dude with it. Whoever's nearest.
That would be a dwarf, so go for that.
17 hit. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
A 9 damage.
That will do it. You kill that dwarf who was already half dead. And now it is Tix's turn, and there is a gnoll remaining.
And I will swing away at him. And I got an 11.
That will hit because they have no armor whatsoever, nor any dexterity.
Okay. And that is 4 damage.
That does not kill it, but now it is Osokai's turn.
Osukai, how far away from the hole is this last gnoll?
He's not particularly near. He might be in tossing range.
That's exactly what I'm aiming to do. I'm going to pick him up and toss him in the hole. No, go down the hole. That is a 19 touch.
That will do it. Describe how you throw him into the hole.
Osukai steps in front of Tix, much to his chagrin probably, and pick up the gnoll by his neck and in one smooth motion throw him over my head into the hole.
If this was a different universe, there would be a buzzer indicating that you had scored 3 points. He goes in and is not seen again. The door is unlocked. Would anyone in particular like to go first?
Morezi knows nothing about this spider god or why to fear her, and knows nothing of what is beyond, and takes initiative on it.
I'm pretty sure Osakai and Zuana would have told Morezi exactly who Lolth is and why Lolth is not to be messed with.
Ah.
Yes, you as you did specify earlier, y'all did gather together and sort of share stories, so you have a basic understanding. But you've never encountered it yourself, nor have you had almost any interaction with Drow. So you fling open this door, and nothing happens. But what you all sense, you can feel like almost a vapor coming out from this entrance. Even though you're not in it yet, you can tell that this is the path that will lead you into the Underdark. And you make your way in, and you walk, and you walk, and you walk. You encounter no living things. You walk for miles upon miles. You walk so long that you have to stop and make camp. This is not simply the Underdark, as had been very well put by Lee earlier, is not just a little underground. It is vast and it is deep. But there's an indefinable moment when you realize that you're beginning to enter the very outskirts of the Underdark, and you feel a chill run down your spine, though you don't know why. And you know, Osokai, that only a few miles ahead, down a few corridors, is the shrine that you are looking for.
Osakai gulps, visibly swallows, in what can only be described as something worth actually noticing, in that this giant, hairy beast man is visibly shaken, but points in the direction and says, only a few hours to go.
And you all make your way further into the Underdark, and you begin encountering something on the floor, and only one of you has actually encountered this before. You begin finding corpses. You note that none of these corpses have the half-rotted faces that you had noted before, but there is a feature that is very familiar to you, Morezi. All of these corpses, 6 of them in total, are missing the top half of their skull, and the inside of their skull has been emptied out.
That's
Ooh,
fun.
Gross.
Naturally, this was what you found to be the fate of the town, which was called Spade Glen, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the lovely bucolic town that you had visited, where everyone disappeared in the night. And when you found the bodies later, all of them were missing the top part of their skull, and most of what was inside, or should have been inside, was missing. And you begin to find these here and there and everywhere as you make your way closer and closer to the shrine. And finally, in the distance, you can see the symbol of Lolth. It is an abstract drawing of a spider. And you know that through that entrance is the shrine that you are here for.
Osakai notices Morezi's recognition, I suppose, and he will question her on it if she decides she wants to share that information.
She generally recaps on how there was that whole Spade Glen thing with the people who are missing part of their skull.
That doesn't sound like Lolth to me. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about Lolth, but that doesn't sound like something she wants her, I wouldn't say followers, because she doesn't really care about anything. But I'm guessing that's what she meant by desecration.
Perhaps.
And in fact, only one of these corpses is a drow. All of the other ones were either human or dwarf. But none of them, all of them, none of them had a particular feeling from you, Osokai, that these were followers of hers.
And while Lolth does take care of her own, like I said, Lolth doesn't really care about anything, but I'm fairly sure killing and eating the brain of a drow is probably not something you want to make known to her, as while she doesn't care about them, she will punish you for doing so, because that's just what she does. So yeah, I'm leaning more and more towards this is why she wants her shrine back, because they're doing bad things in her name that she doesn't approve of.
Okay. Yeah, and you do know that while she's more than happy to tear the head off of her dolls, she doesn't like it if someone else does it.
Exactly.
So you make your way towards the entrance of the shrine. It is a large stone edifice built within the Underdark. There's a single entrance. Think about a old school church with a very tall door. But this one, the stone door opening has been cast aside and broken on the ground, and so only blackness opens up as you come towards the door.
Tix, do you recognize the design of the basilica, church, cathedral, whatever?
I will do a knowledge religion check,
Please.
and that is a 19.
Nice.
Very, very good. So you do see the symbol of Lolth, as I said before, an abstract spider up there, but it has been defaced. And in its place, you can see the symbol of 3 other gods carved into it. And you're not entirely certain which gods they are. You would need to kind of do a little more research to say who they are certain. More so because they're not very expertly carved. This is not like the work of a skilled craftsman, like a dwarf stonecutter. It's kind of like, just jaggedly carved into the wall. But they are 3 gods, and you sense that they're probably not nice gods, shall we say. And I absolutely, in the future, if you have access to like a book, shall we say, that has the different symbols of the gods, you may be able to decipher who they are. But they are probably 3 not drow gods that have been carved into the side of the wall.
Well, Osokai, it looks like we've found what's been desecrated.
Can you tell by who?
No, I cannot. You have apparently a turf war between demigods. And so
Interesting.
whatever these 3 factions are, they're moving in on the Underdark.
Osukai shivers, and that just visibly shivers. The concept of someone moving in on Lolth's territory is not a nice one.
No, and certainly, Tix, you have heard of instances where a shrine or something like that might be defiled, but in this world, that is not common, because this is a world where a god just might smack you down at any time, and especially they might take notice if you start messing with their shrine. So for this level of desecration to happen to a very powerful god is almost unprecedented in your experience.
And so I tell Osokai and Morezi that we are dealing with somebody that is not afraid of Lolth, and that we probably better keep our head in the game, because there's something down here that doesn't show fear.
That's
Oh.
not good.
Osukai shivers again and looks to Zuana. I'm guessing she's pretty much doing the same thing.
Yes, she is visibly shaken. She's clearly terrified. She's just has a death grip on her staff. And that's when you hear something from inside the shrine. And it sounds like this. Have you ever heard...
Ugh.
Yeah. Have you ever heard someone very unpleasantly sucking the juice out of an orange? It's like that.
Yes.
like that.
Ugh.
I remember the scene in Temple of Doom where they started eating the monkey brains.
Exactly like that. Chilled monkey brains.
Osukai looks around for liver and Chianti.
For what?
For fava beans and Chianti.
Interesting. So, are you going to go in?
I look to Ozukai looks at Zuana and gives her a nod and stands to his full height and walks into the door.
All right, you cross through the door, and you do feel something resisting you when you cross through the threshold. Some, some deity type force pushing back against you, but it's not a real presence. It's just simply like a pressure, like almost a change in barometric pressure, and you are able to walk through it.
Osukai in his head, just it's not an attempt to gain her attention, but a thought passes his head, is wondering if Lolth is actually paying attention, and shudders at the thought, but continues on.
All right, and you two, are you going to follow him?
I should think so.
Armed and ready.
Your battle axe in hand and your halberd at the ready, you walk inside. And there actually are a few torches lit, though most of the creatures of Underdark require no such illumination. And typically, that sort of thing would be ceremonial in nature. You see a long area. Do again think of a old school church, long and narrow, but where an altar would be in an old school church is a raised dais, and there is a giant pentagram in that area. But again, the pentagram itself is not important. It is simply to help channel and focus the power of the dark god. There are 3 slabs put at opposite areas. As you probably know, a pentagram is really just 2 triangles put in opposition to each other, and these slabs are on the 3 points of one of those triangles. Normally, this is where a sacrifice would take place to Lolth. And there are 3 figures laying on these, and because it's slightly raised up, you can't make them out very well. And there's another figure standing in the center of the pentagram. It is a robed and hooded figure, and it appears to be embracing a limp figure. And that is where that terrible slurping noise is coming from. And you see the limp figure drop to the ground, and you see the empty skull greeting you. And the figure reaches and pulls back its hood, and you see the waving tentacles of a mind flayer. And that's where we're going to end the episode today. Best of luck to all of you. It was really nice playing with you all.
Yeah, we are not ready for this. No way.
just so you know, I am aware how powerful a mind flayer is, and there are things in place. Because
just for Izzy's sake, a mind flayer is a campaign level enemy.
I don't know what that means, but I assume that we are in deep poop.
It's the big bad. Yeah.
It's generally considered a big bad. There's encounter level, there's intermediate sort of boss level, and then there's campaign level, which is if you meet one of those, you'd better kill it or your campaign is over.
Lovely.
Yes.
And then there's the Tarask, which is basically world enders.
Right. That you were afraid to ask, as James once told me. So you all instinctively know that obviously you don't think of yourself as level 3. And we'll discuss that more in the next episode because you all did get to level up. We forgot to mention that earlier. You all know that you stand essentially no chance against a mind flayer. But here you are, and we'll see what will happen next time. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, go ahead.
Did I ever see the face of the guy who captured that dragon?
Yes, you did, and it was a normal human. As in fact, I even made a joke that he reveals his hood and he's just some guy, because not everyone is like your long-lost father who's come back for revenge. You know, he was just some guy who was a necromancer. But
just making sure.
But the corpses that he was animating were missing the top half of their skull.
So this would be the master that he was crowing about at that particular time.
That would seem extremely likely, and certainly it would take an incredible amount of power. Whatever the master is has the power to control a Zorn, and even to force a Zorn not to obey its natural instincts, which is almost impossible. So that's kind of a big deal.
So sometime between now and the next session, Tix might want to get rid of that emerald.
Well, certainly if the Zorn comes running in, you might want to go, here, get it, whoo, and, throw it down.
Fetch, boy, fetch.
Hopefully that's all he wants.
Well, that's all
But
a Zorn naturally wants, but that one was not acting in a natural fashion.
I feel like Osakoi and Zuana are going to have to do something very not good again in the next session, and I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. It's worked so far, and it might be what we need, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping he just decides we're not worth it and teleports away or something. I don't know, but I'm not looking forward to having to do what I think I'm going to have to do.
No, I'm enjoying this all so much. I think I'm going to leave it at the end of the show. So you all have a wonderful evening. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
So tired.
Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the Zorn bite.
Don't let the Mind Flayer remove your skull and eat your brain.